The global hybrid model, GHM, connects high school, college, and school districts through a common pedagogical focus. The goal is for each individual participant to achieve gains in intercultural competence through remote, such as Zoom, WhatsApp, etc., and experiential learning in the United States and in another country. These gains can generalize to other contexts, such as school, work, and relationships. So we influence the individual who then goes out into the world and has many other influences. And we'd like to see in a geometric progression, but we're aspirational, of course. These gains, okay, our presentation describes this model, its historical development, application next summer, 2025, and future iterations. Okay, these are the kind of key concepts, essentials of the GHM. It's hybrid. We combine some kind of distance, remote, online, with in-person experiential learning. It's focused on the US in addition to one or more non-US locations. And this has global applications. Our goal is to increase collaborations and intercultural competence. Our participants, we'd like to see more disparate groups form a new group with new opportunities. And with our model, the GHM, these parts will form a whole, kind of a gestalt, if you're familiar with that concept in psychology and sensation and perception, via a common pedagogical focus. Okay, we have highlights from our history and its iterations. So 10 years ago, in 2014, the United Nations Economic, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, better known as UNESCO, stated that, quote, education is increasingly seen as having a critical role in strengthening development and leading social and economic transformation. Education must be placed at the heart of the global development agenda, end quote. We agree. Education systems face pressures from globalization. So thinking more globally and demonstrating intercultural competence are increasingly valued. We all must function in an increasingly interconnected, intercultural, globalized world. Excuse me. Individuals and education systems must adapt to maintain relevancy and livelihoods and to survive in our ever-changing world. So the process of becoming more globally and interculturally competent involves changes in one's knowledge as well as personal growth. So these were and are the basic challenges we faced and still face. So solutions from our highlights in history, also known as two heads are better than one, and look out when you have three, are standard experiential study abroad program in Costa Rica, combined with a specially designed online course for undergraduate and graduate students. This was in 2018, 2019, and 2022. That was the first step, the first model that I was working with, and particularly with Dr. Dion Rosser-Mims. Some of you may know her from Troy University, who is currently chancellor of the Phoenix City campus. And then this expanded to include a public school district, which Dr. Paquette will talk about. And then we added Mr. Linder, and we have planned for 2025 to add high school students, and he will talk about that. Okay, so that's essentially what we're doing. Next slide. As I said, we had initially, well, I have these check marks to show that which parts of what we now call the GHM, did we fulfill or partially fulfill in the original version. And was it hybrid? Yes, we had the Global Identity online course and study abroad programs. Was it US and non-US? Yes. We had the online course, and embedded within it initially, we had students going to 2 countries. You could either go to Uganda or United Kingdom, and then they would interact in the online course itself, which was very enriching for the students, and it was a very, very beneficial design. Difficult to do, but we did that anyway. Then the next year we had Costa Rica and South Africa, and we had planned for Costa Rica and Greece, but then the pandemic interfered, so COVID-19 shut down the program for 2 years since no one was traveling. And then we started again in 2022. Did students develop some intercultural competence? Absolutely. And this can be done both with the online course for content and interactions, and then in the country, the destination country, where they spent 8 to 10 days. Collaborations were limited, however, so that's something that we didn't think about at the time, or hadn't had the ability to develop in that direction, and that we have addressed more recently. We have diverse groups of participants. Yes, we had students, undergraduate and graduate students, and then more recently, not only master's level, but doctoral level students as well. And Mr. Raza was one of the participants in that group last August. So we did check some of the boxes. But there was certainly other areas for expansion, and particularly in collaborations. And that leads directly to Dr. Paige Paquette.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Today, I want to talk to you a little bit about how we expanded the model that Dr. Milligan was discussing and started herself, and how we moved that into what we're doing now and where we're going from there. And so Dr. Milligan and I were researching a paper and I started seeing that educators are expected to meet all these global standards. I saw words like culturally responsive, values of diverse cultures and communities, extend learner interaction with ideas and people locally and globally, these global perspectives, and recognize the interconnectedness of the global community. And I really started thinking that how do educators do that if they're not traveling globally or having these international experiences? And so that's when Dr. Milligan and I started dreaming big and thinking, wouldn't it be great if we expanded the model so that it included educators so that they could have this opportunity both in person and virtually? So I wanted to just share a few of the standards that we came across, and you can read them, or I really highlighted the words for you so that you could see how many of the standards just in our state of Alabama require cultural experience and knowledge for educators to be able to teach students. And then I even looked at the national board, which is the grand puma for educators, for what the national board requires or says about educators. And you see here again that they're highlighted the words for you that, these accomplished teachers which is what you are if you pass your national boards. You gain a global perspective. You have skills to succeed in a global community. more global awareness. You're teaching your students these things. And again, we started talking about it and we were wondering, how can this happen if educators don't have an opportunity to travel and have an opportunity to study abroad? So we went to the superintendent of the Russell County School District, which is here in our community. And just to give you some insight, Russell County is in a rural area, but we have several universities, to include Troy, in our area. So there are educators who can go to the university and get several degrees without ever leaving their community. So it's possible that you have many educators who have never traveled outside of the county, much less the state, country, or even to internationally. So we went to the superintendent and we shared our concerns, and she was 100% supportive and in agreement. And so in 2023, we took our first group of educators, which you'll see on the left. And so that group was mostly administrators, a lot of her staff. We had the 2 teachers of the year. So you can see just by looking at the picture that we had some more seasoned educators with us. And so as far as from a distance learning technology standpoint, it was a little different. It was challenging. They were familiar with Zoom and Teams because we were just coming out of COVID. And so they had to use those. But when we mentioned technology like WhatsApp, we just got these deer in the headlight kind of looks. And so we were able to introduce them to WhatsApp. And I was thinking as I was looking for some pictures of our trip, that it was really hard for us to get pictures from them because we were asking them to put them on WhatsApp and they were still learning. It was still a new experience for them. So we were limited. We're limited on photos from that trip just because technology was still something of a challenge. And so, but it turned out to be such a great trip. The superintendent believed in it 100%. She enjoyed it. She went with us. And so in 2024, we took another group of educators. You'll see them on the right. And this time we took a technology administrator, and we took a lot of younger educators with us. And so this morning, as I was just reflecting, I thought they were so comfortable with whatever technology we recommended that they use or we suggested. And our WhatsApp group is full of photos, and their ideas were all based around technology and how we could use technology to do some great things. And so so they had a lot of it was just interesting to see the dynamics of the 2 different groups. But these are the 2 iterations we've had of that, of the newer model, not the newest, but the newer one. And so we have some opportunities for educators. These are some of the things that they've done, and we're just building on these. You can see that they had cultural experiences. Of course, we had to give them those. They had opportunities to go to elementary, secondary, and even special needs schools, visit local universities. Some of them you heard from in the panel. To get to visit some national landmarks. There's so many great things in San Jose, Costa Rica, where we go, for them to have those experiences. We visited the Humanitarian Foundation, and they had the opportunity to see life in that perspective. Medical facilities. We had the privilege of meeting with members of the Ministry of Public Education there in Costa Rica. We got to go see some beautiful natural ecosystems and opportunity, just places to see. Of course, we had some dining and shopping excursions. And this in 2024, we had the privilege of visiting the embassy and being invited to visit there. So those are just some of the opportunities that we've had. And we believe that those experiences have created some great connections that we can have virtually with these places, with the Minister of Public Education and some of the schools and universities especially. So our future plans as we move into the new model, our future plans for our Troy educators abroad are to invite other school systems to participate. This is giving these educators such firsthand experience on being able to teach their students about global awareness and cultural sensitivity and things like that, providing teaching moments in Costa Rican classrooms for our educators so that they can teach while they're in country, but also create opportunities for virtual exchanges outside, and also to have exchanges for pen pals for both the students. How great would that be to have a, a language teaching exchange? That would be fun. I think the students in Costa Rica would enjoy our Southern Spanish, but also to have exchanges with educators in different schools and things like that, and to develop partnering and exchange opportunities that are virtual and are also in person. And so as we talk about future plans and our new model, we have to go right to Payton Linder and let him share about where the model has developed now.
Good morning. Thank you, Dr. Paquette. My name's Payton Linder. I'm the Community Engagement Coordinator for Troy University's Phoenix City campus. And while Dr. Paquette and Dr. Milligan were working on the development of this cultural experience with teachers, educators, and students, we at our campus were doing some innovative work too, not realizing it at the time what it could be. But just over a year ago, we had partnered with actually our campus has been partnered with the East Alabama Chamber of Commerce for many of years. But just recently, over a year ago, they came to us asking help in redeveloping the Young Leader Program, which the Young Leader Program, the majority of Chamber of Commerces have. And the way they've always been done historically is through just getting students from different high schools in the area and providing them opportunities to tour different places in the city, meeting leaders and it really never developed past that. And so working with us at the university, we were able to partner with the local school systems and say, how can we take this organization or this program and make it better? And we started working specifically with business and community focus, but also a personal focus on the students and the leaders themselves. We wanted to add leadership development in there, and that was adding opportunities for the kids to dive into personality tests like MBTI, DISC, Emergenetics. We began asking the students as we were touring them through these places in the city and meeting business leaders, asking them about their ideas. What did they see? What gaps did they see in our community? And so we started developing this program to really work, saying that these kids are the future leaders in our community. They need to start having influence now in our community. And so we were wanting them to sit in on city council meetings and opportunities like that. And it worked out great. We ended up adding more than double the amount of students from one year to the next. So now we're in this new year, and speaking with Dr. Milligan and Dr. Paquette, we said, how can we add the students for the young leaders to this study abroad program, but also make it a dual enrollment experience? And so over the course of this, the past 6 months or so, we were able to, as a university, partner with the chamber to create the dual enrollment experience where they're in an online environment using tools which most students, they're very technology friendly, but at this point in their high school career, they've never done complete online courses except for during the pandemic. And so now they're completely online, learning how to do online learning. They're watching videos and all different communications via online. But by adding this aspect of saying, hey, can we take these students on a study abroad experience? Most of them coming from this one, the Russell County rural environment area where they haven't traveled, and then the other one in our local city, giving these students who come from specific backgrounds would never have the opportunity to travel abroad or to even leave the country, and let alone their own states. And so being able to say, okay, how can we merge the two together? You're talking education, business, and travel. And the development of this trip is to be able to give them the opportunity, not only for educational experience and opening their minds to new styles of learning, but it's giving them a cultural emergence. They're seeing, we're hoping that they'll be able to see how students live in other countries, how high school students are able to operate, how they communicate with one another. That most students in other countries are learning English at an early age as a second language, where you can voluntarily take languages in school, but it's not forced. And the great opportunity that we've had in Costa Rica with these past 2 trips earlier in 2024 was we've had resounding conversations with people when we've talked about bringing them and the education opportunities that these students could have. And so what we want to do is when we bring them down there, we want to give them 5 days in country. So one, they can see how other people live. They can interact with these students and teachers, but they can also be on a trip with their teachers and educators from their own school systems, seeing their experience too. So you have your students and your educators combined learning together opportunities, but then also connecting with these students and saying, hey, you know, you live in Costa Rica, I live in Alabama, but we can still communicate via WhatsApp, Zoom, or these different. So what we want to do is open the door to say that just because we all live in different areas, we can all learn and live together virtually and then travel and be immersed together. I never said next slide. Thank you.
Well, just to conclude, we've had so much fun with this model. I don't know if you can tell or not. It's been a great partnership with Dr. Milligan and with Mr. Linder. And so just to conclude, a few things that I think we've all come to the conclusion of is that the global hybrid model brings together our high school, university, and school district participants, and it gives them opportunities to gain this international experience and expand their global awareness, which echoes throughout generations, really. And the model provides educators with experiences they can share within their classrooms and their school districts. And also it expands the study abroad possibilities to include these high school students who are the future of our communities, our nation, and our world. And so we have really enjoyed our time together. We have some references should you need them. And Dr. Milligan, I'll turn it back over to you for our wrap up.
We have some questions in the chat box.
Well, I would, before we do that, I would like to recognize Ms. Katja Schroeder, who also went with us on the Global Leadership PhD Practicum and Costa Rica Conference last August.
No.
Thank you. Mr. Linder, would you like to handle the chat? And I think
the first question,
we have 5 minutes left.
Yeah, we have a few minutes, was from Katja asking, the WhatsApp example is great. So this means to be successful, would you say the program needs to include a segment for educators on technology literacy?
That's a great idea. That's why we enjoy these things. It's because we get great ideas. Thank you.
I think by adding, we have actually been talking about what are things we need to do in preparation of being in country. And one of them was we need to have a quick, not a quick, but an in-session Spanish learning thing prior to the trip. So individuals can learn a few Spanish words before going in country. Adding technology to that too would be a great aspect, I think. So you can go ahead and knock those questions and conversations out early before you actually get into the country.
Thank you.
Yeah, a lot of it is advanced preparation, which is difficult because we're all super busy. Doing so many different jobs, and this is in addition to everything else we do. So it's very labor time intensive, but we really love it, and it's worthwhile when you get there and you see the results. You know,
definitely
the effects on participants and what they can bring back to their communities and share with their students, their schools, and others. You know, so we hope that it
The
has. a
next
magnifying
question was
effect.
from Roz and says, this is such a great initiative. What are some obstacles you foresee taking high school students abroad? Funding, parents, etc. That's a great question, which we've all been talking about as a board and committee. And one of the positive things about this is that by doing it through the Young Leader Program, we have already brought the school systems on board for that program. The superintendents approve of the Young Leader Program. We have career coaches on our oversight committee, and they actually have helped us from legal points. Hey, you can do this with students. You can do this with students. You cannot do this. And so each school system already has a lot of those protections in place and legalities in place where they're actually helping us from that side. So when it comes to the legal paperwork and traveling abroad, the school systems actually will handle that all independently in partnership with us, though. But then with funding and parents, that's conversations that we're actually working through right now. I can't say we have all the problems solved, but we're actually presenting the students with fundraising opportunities, which this helps them build arsenals in the tool belt as they become adults. If you work in nonprofit world, you know what it's like to have to go and fundraise for initiatives. This is kind of building that presentation and that ask in them, but also working with the parents. And I think the best opportunity for us is saying, hey, we're doing this under a university umbrella. We're also doing it with the educators. And I feel they are more comfortable sending their students abroad when they know, hey, the principal from the high school is actually going to be on this trip too, or this person from administration or this teacher. So they feel more comfortable sending their students with us when it's actually what Troy's doing, when they're merging the Troy students, the educators, and all together in one trip.
Yes,
Paige,
and Troy University is supportive, and that's important as well. Yeah.
Were there any other questions, Payton?
No, those are the last two.
We're out of time, unfortunately.
Perfect. Well, thank you everybody for attending today. We really
you.
enjoyed it, and we'd love to answer any other questions you might have later.
All right. Thank you.
Have a great day.
See you in other sessions.